Are you Helen Brooks?
I heard my name clearly through the sound of winter rain falling. In front of my husband's ex-wife's funeral home, with the smell of cheap coffee and white flowers mixed in the cold air, I slowly lifted my head. A young woman in a black coat was staring straight at me as she spoke.
Should I tell your daughter how my father destroyed our family because of you?
I had endured, I had crumbled, and in that moment I wanted to hide. I was terrified yet, strangely, a faint sense of relief brushed past my chest. I've kept my sin and my secret buried for 28 years. But I've decided I won't run from it anymore. Why those words were spoken that day, I'll tell you everything now. You're listening to Silver Story Tree, where the voices of life's late chapters gently bloom again. Subscribe, like, and turn on the bell to hear more heartfelt stories that grow with time. The sound of raindrops hitting the asphalt in the funeral home parking lot fills the air. Winter rain is falling softly in the outskirts of Tacoma, Washington, and I'm standing at the far end of the parking lot, where black cars line up, my black puffer jacket zipped all the way to the top. Through the glass doors of the white building, I can see Susan Moore's memorial photo. She's smiling in that black frame, and I think I understand what that smile means. My husband Mark is pacing near the entrance, in an awkward tie, nodding to mourners. I haven't taken a single step toward the entrance. No, I couldn't bring myself to. From inside, the funeral home's distinctive flower scent mixed with coffee drifts through the door cracks. Through the window, I can faintly see Emily, in a black mourning dress, organizing visitors. She's 35 now, the same girl who was only 7 when I first met Mark. I feel my fingertips going cold as I take a step back toward the corner of the parking lot. As the service ends and people start trickling out, Mark approaches me. "Won't you come inside?" he asks. I shake my head. "I'll just stay here." Going inside feels wrong. The moment I pull out my car keys to leave, I hear the glass doors opening behind me. I feel a chill down my spine as I slowly turn around. Emily has come outside and is staring right at me. "Helen Brooks, right?" Her voice is cold and firm. "Can we talk for a moment?" Instead of answering, I follow her to the plastic table in front of the drive-through coffee shop right next to the funeral home. Raindrops are tapping on the edge of the table. Emily sets down a paper cup of coffee with a thud and faces me. Around us, there's only the sound of cars passing by, and I fold my hands neatly on my lap and bite my lip. She speaks. 28 years ago, the woman who came into our house as my father's mistress. That's you, isn't it? My breath catches, but I can't say anything. Emily tilts her head slightly and lowers her voice a notch. "I know everything. I've read Mom's diary, and I've checked the documents left at the lawyer's office." My heart sinks. The past I've hidden for 28 years is now being laid out on this cold plastic table in the rain. Emily continues. "When should I tell her? Your daughter Rachel, how her mother came to be in that house." My voice trembles as I ask, "What do you want?" Emily pauses for a moment, then answers quietly. "Let's talk about a deal. Otherwise, I'll tell the story you've been hiding myself." The moment I hear that, my 27-year-old daughter Rachel's face flashes through my mind. Rachel, who works as a nurse at the Tacoma Regional Hospital, grew up thinking her parents were just an ordinary middle-class American couple. I look straight at Emily and ask, "How much money do you want?" Emily shakes her head. "It's not just about money. At the very least, half of the house and assets that remain should be mine. Dad never did anything right for my mom." As the rain grows louder, I stand up from the plastic chair. "Give me time. Let me think about it." Emily narrows her eyes and nods. "I'll give you 1 week. If I don't hear from you, I'll go straight to Rachel's hospital." I get back in my car and grip the steering wheel. My hands are shaking so badly it takes me a while to start the engine. In the rearview mirror, my face is pale and my lips are parched. On the drive home, the traffic light on Tacoma's Main Street turns red. I close my eyes in the stopped car. That day 28 years ago, the moment I first met Mark at that truck stop diner, comes flooding back. It was raining that day too. Back then, I knew he was wearing a wedding ring, but I looked away. Or maybe I wanted to look away. The light changes and I hear a horn behind me. I press the gas pedal and mutter to myself, "There's nowhere left to hide." That night when I got home, I didn't say anything to Mark. He was watching TV on the living room couch. And I pretended to do dishes in the kitchen, listening to the running water. I hoped the sound of water would drown out my thoughts. But Emily's voice kept echoing in my head. I'll tell the story you've been hiding myself. I turn off the faucet and look out the window. Tacoma's winter sky is dark, and all I can hear is the distant sound of rain. That night, I couldn't sleep. The next morning before dawn, I hear the sound of coffee brewing in the kitchen of my small deli on Tacoma's Main Street. As I grill bacon and prepare sandwich ingredients, I keep thinking back to 30 years ago. At 25, I was working as a server at a truck stop diner on a Washington Highway rest area. It was the kind of place that stayed open late into the night and closed at dawn. A place where long-haul truckers would stop for coffee and a quick rest. I first saw Mark in late fall. He was 39, wearing a black leather jacket, sitting at the counter ordering coffee. There was a wedding ring on his hand, but I treated him like any regular customer. As he came back a few more times, we gradually started talking. It's quiet when I go home. My wife and I are practically strangers. Every time he said things like that, I felt guilty, but couldn't ignore the part of me that wanted to lean on those words. Winter came, and on a rainy night, Mark said he was too tired to drive home. He'd have to rest at a nearby motel. Instead of answering, I followed him out. A small motel by the highway exit, neon signs flickering in the parking lot. I hesitated for a moment, but eventually I took his hand. That night in the room, I saw his wedding ring glinting in the fluorescent light. I closed my eyes. A few months passed. Mark filed for divorce from Susan through a lawyer in Seattle. Even without you, we would have ended anyway. Every time he repeated that, I tried to feel better about it. But somewhere a heavy stone seemed to be weighing on my chest. Mark's divorce was finalized the following spring. We rented an old small house on the outskirts of Tacoma and started living together. It was a single-story house with a maple tree in the yard. Not long after, Rachel was born. When I held Rachel as she let out her first cry in the maternity ward of Tacoma Regional Hospital, I cried. A new family was starting, I told myself. The past was over. But on the day we left the hospital, a woman's sharp gaze pierced through me as she stood near the entrance. The woman's name, I learned later, was Susan. After that day, I deliberately avoided Seattle neighborhoods and stores. I'll only live in Tacoma. That's what I told myself, narrowing my own boundaries. Mark drove for Uber and often went to Seattle. But I tried not to leave my deli on Tacoma's Main Street. As Rachel started going to school, we looked like an ordinary family. But there was always a heavy shadow hanging over one corner of my heart. When Rachel was about 10, she once asked me, "Mom, where's Grandma?" I couldn't answer. Mark's mother had already passed away. And I couldn't bring up Susan and her daughter Emily. I just said she lived far away, and I'd explain when she was older. Rachel didn't ask more questions, and I thought that was fortunate. Years passed and Rachel became a nurse. Watching my daughter working her second year at Tacoma Regional Hospital, I sometimes thought this child grew up, not knowing what kind of person her mother really is. I didn't know if that was fortunate or if I was just continuing to lie. Then one winter, I heard that Susan had passed away. When Mark got a call from Emily and told me, I couldn't say anything for a long time. The night before going to the funeral home, I stood in front of the mirror. My 63-year-old face was lined with wrinkles, and my graying hair kept slipping out. No matter how I tied it, I looked into my own eyes in the mirror and asked, "Were you happy?" No answer came. The next day, when I faced Emily in the rain, I realized something. For 28 years, I had never truly lived comfortably, not even once. That night, after closing the deli and coming home, Rachel asked me, "Mom, why do you keep spacing out lately?" I just said I was tired and turned my head. Rachel didn't ask more and went to her room. I stood by the living room window, looking out at Tacoma's night. The streetlights on Main Street were flickering, and I could only hear distant cars passing. I quietly muttered to myself, "I think it's really time to face the end." After Emily's threatening message, I sat on the couch every night, fiddling with my phone. I didn't turn on the TV. Even the news wouldn't register. Mark was sitting at the dining table sipping whiskey. If Emily wants money, couldn't we give her a little? I shake my head. That's not the problem. Emily wants something bigger than money. I read Emily's message on my phone screen again. It's not just about money. At the very least, half of the house and assets that remain should be mine. I take a deep breath and look straight at Mark. When you divorced Susan 28 years ago, what did you settle with her? Mark avoids my eyes. The lawyer handled everything. I don't remember well. I let out a sigh. That's what you always did. Passing responsibility to someone else. The next morning, I head downtown to Tacoma alone without telling Mark. Walking down streets lined with old brick buildings, I spot a law office on the second floor with a white sign. Carter Law Office. The white letters gleam in the morning sun. I clench my fists as I climb the stairs. When I open the door, a young employee is sitting at the reception desk. What can I help you with? With trembling hands, I write on a notepad. My name, old address, and that I'm looking for documents related to Susan Moore. The employee nods and goes into the inner office. After a moment, a man who appears to be in his mid-50s comes out. It's Attorney Carter. He adjusts his glasses. If it's documents from 28 years ago, they'll be in storage. Please wait a moment. After a long wait, Attorney Carter comes out carrying an old brown box. He places the dusty box on the desk and opens the lid. It smells of old documents. Inside are copies of the divorce decree, property division papers, and one sealed envelope. On the envelope, in Susan's handwriting, it says, "To Mark and Helen." My hands are shaking too much to hold the envelope. Attorney Carter says quietly, "Susan left this letter the year the divorce was finalized. She said it might be needed later." I slowly pick up the envelope. The sealed tape has yellowed. Inside the box is also a small notebook. Susan's diary. I put the documents one by one into my bag and ask, "Can I take these?" Attorney Carter nods. They belong to the parties involved anyway. However, if your situation is complicated right now, you'll need legal advice. I hesitate for a moment before answering. Let me read these first and I'll contact you again. Leaving the office and coming down the stairs, my legs are wobbling. The box in my bag feels heavy. As lunchtime approaches, people are coming and going on Tacoma's downtown streets. I sit on a nearby park bench and place my bag on my lap. Running my hand over the strap, I think to myself, what's in here? What did Susan leave behind? That afternoon, I return to the deli and make sandwiches for customers as usual. But my mind is entirely on that box. A regular asks, "Helen, you look a bit off today. Are you okay?" I smile and answer, "Just a little tired." The customer takes their coffee and leaves. And I lean against the counter with a sigh. In the evening, I close the deli and return home. Mark is watching TV in the living room. And Rachel is working a night shift at the hospital. I go into my room, lock the door, and take the box out of my bag. I turn on the fluorescent light and sit on the bed, opening the lid. Susan's diary is sitting right on top. When I open the first page, Susan's handwriting catches my eye. The date is from 28 years ago, in spring. I turn the pages with my hand, reading line by line. Mark came home late today. I think he met that woman again. My breath catches. This was from the exact time I was seeing Mark. While reading the diary, I pause for a moment. My hands are shaking so much the words blur. I close my eyes and take a deep breath. Then I open the diary again. Susan's voice seems to echo from the pages. I tell myself I won't hide anymore. Instead of being dragged around by Emily, I have to open the truth first. That night, I stay up until dawn reading the diary. Outside the window, Tacoma's night deepens, and I can only hear distant cars. I close the diary and mutter, "Susan, why did you leave this behind?" There's no answer, but I think I know. Susan knew this moment would come someday. Late at night, I place Susan's diary and the sealed letter on the small kitchen table in my Tacoma home. Under the fluorescent light, the notebook cover looks worn. I slowly open the diary. The first sentence catches my eye. Maybe that woman was also deceived by her husband, just like me. But my wounds don't disappear. I read that sentence several times. Did Susan think of me as a victim? Or was she just trying to comfort herself? I don't know. When I turn to the next page, there's a date. Fall, 28 years ago, right when I was secretly meeting Mark. I saw that woman again today. She was young and pretty. Still, I tried not to cry in front of my child. My breath catches. Susan had seen me, at the truck stop diner, or maybe in the highway rest area parking lot. I didn't know anything at the time. Or maybe I pretended not to know. As I continue reading the diary, Susan's voice becomes clearer and clearer. Mark signed the divorce papers, but I still have to call him my husband. Emily is waiting for Daddy, but Daddy went to another house. I close the diary and shut my eyes for a moment. My chest feels tight and it's hard to breathe. The fluorescent light is too bright, so I open my eyes. The sealed letter is still on the table. I reach for the envelope. To Mark and Helen, Susan's handwriting has smudged slightly. My hand trembles as I tear open the envelope. The tape rustles in the quiet kitchen. A single-page letter comes out. I unfold it and read the first line. Mark and Helen, which of you is the greater sinner? I bite my lip. Susan's voice seems to echo from the letter. I continue reading. I won't hold on to you anymore. Instead, please protect both daughters properly. Whether it's your daughter or my daughter, don't let them both live carrying your sins. Reading that sentence brings tears to my eyes. Susan was worried not just about Emily, but about Rachel too. Behind the letter are copies of the divorce settlement and property division records. I unfold the documents one by one to check. There are clear records showing that the Seattle apartment deposit and a certain amount were transferred to Susan and Emily. Mark had done at least that much. But Emily must have grown up not knowing this. I take out my phone and photograph the documents one by one, saving them. The camera shutter sound echoes in the kitchen. I check Emily's message again and mutter to myself. You grew up believing your mother was completely abandoned, not knowing this. That's why you're so angry. The next morning, before opening the deli, I head back to Attorney Carter's office. Tacoma's downtown streets are busy with morning commuters. As I climb the stairs to the law office, I check the documents in my bag. The receptionist greets me warmly, and after a moment, Attorney Carter comes out, entering the office and sitting in a chair. I take the documents out of my bag and place them on the desk. With these documents, can we legally settle both daughters' shares? Attorney Carter adjusts his glasses and reviews the documents. There's a long silence. Outside the window, I can only hear cars passing. Attorney Carter looks up. It's possible. We can compare the divorce settlement with the current asset list and divide fairly between both daughters. However, opening the truth to your family first is your responsibility. I nod. I know. I can't hide anymore. Leaving the law office, I walk slowly down Tacoma's downtown street. Morning sunlight is shining on the brick buildings. I take out my phone and send Emily a message. Let's meet, the three of us. You, me, and your father. After sending the message, I put my phone in my bag and head to the deli. That afternoon, while making soup in the deli kitchen, I think about Susan's letter. Please protect both daughters properly. Susan wanted to say that until she died. I watch steam rising from the pot and mutter. Susan, it's late, but I'll try to honor your request. That's the least I can do to apologize. In the evening, I get a reply from Emily. Okay, let's meet tomorrow at the cafe near Tacoma City Hall. I put down my phone and look out the window. Tacoma's sky is gradually darkening. I clench my fists and tell myself, this is really the beginning. There's no place left to retreat. That night, I sleep deeply for the first time in a while. In my dreams, Susan appears, looking at me and nodding. The next afternoon, I hear raindrops tapping against the window of the cafe. Near Tacoma City Hall, I'm sitting at a table by the window, early, holding a coffee cup with both hands. My hands are cold. Inside the cafe, the espresso machine hums and low jazz music plays. I turn on my phone's recording function and put it in my bag. Just in case. The cafe door opens with a bell chime. Emily walks in wearing a black coat. She sits across from me and puts her bag on the chair beside her. Have you decided? Emily speaks first. Whether you'll let me live quietly, or whether I should tell Rachel the truth. I put down my coffee cup and look straight at her. I'm not ending this with blackmail. Instead, let's settle this properly. Emily raises an eyebrow. What do you mean? I take Susan's letter and divorce document copies out of my bag and quietly spread them on the table. Your mother left this behind. Read it first. Emily doesn't reach for it at first. But when she sees "To Mark and Helen" written on the envelope, she hesitates before finally picking up the letter. While Emily reads the letter, the cafe is quiet. I can only hear someone at the next table turning newspaper pages. Emily's hands start trembling. Please protect both daughters properly. When she reads that part, Emily's eyes redden, but she soon clenches her teeth and puts the letter down on the table. Still, Mom was alone. Dad lived well in a new house with you. That's when the cafe door opens again. I instinctively turn my head. Rachel is standing there in blue scrubs. Mom? Rachel asks in a surprised voice. It's my day off and I was passing by, saw your car. What's going on? Why does everyone look so serious? My heart sinks. I didn't expect to run into her by chance like this. Rachel walks to the table and looks at Emily with a puzzled expression. Who is this? Emily looks at Rachel quietly before speaking. I'm Emily, Mark's daughter. Confusion crosses Rachel's face. Dad's daughter? I realize in that moment that I can no longer hide. Rachel, sit down. Mom has something to tell you. Mark hasn't arrived yet. I decide to start speaking before he gets here. As Rachel pulls up a chair and sits, the jazz music in the cafe stops and moves to the next track. I clench my fists and begin. Rachel, there's something Mom has hidden from you your whole life. Today, I'm finally going to tell you. Rachel looks at me with anxious eyes. I start from 30 years ago, from meeting Mark at the truck stop diner. That he was a married man. That Susan and Emily existed. And the process of how I eventually took that place, I confess bit by bit. As I speak, my voice grows smaller and smaller. Rachel's face turns pale, and her hands tremble on the table. So I was born, Rachel asks in a trembling voice, in a home that started by breaking up someone else's family? I lower my head. I'm sorry. Mom was wrong. But when you were born, I was truly happy. That's not a lie. Rachel fights back tears and turns her head. Raindrops run down the window outside. Emily speaks quietly. That's why I was so jealous of you. Because you lived with Dad. I was always just watching from outside. Rachel looks at Emily and wipes her tears. The two meet eyes. In that moment, I feel the two daughters beginning to understand each other's pain. I take Susan's letter out of my bag again and hand it to Rachel. It seems like words left for both of you. I think you should read it together. Rachel takes the letter with trembling hands and unfolds it. Please protect both daughters. When she reads that part aloud, Rachel's voice cracks. Emily's eyes redden too. The cafe door opens and Mark walks in. He freezes seeing the three of us at the table. I look straight at Mark. There's nowhere left for you to run away. Say it with your own mouth. What you did 30 years ago. Mark slumps into a chair and lowers his head. His shoulders shake slightly. That afternoon, the four of us talked at the cafe for a long time. Rachel cried and then asked questions. Emily wavered between anger and sadness. Mark repeated apologies instead of excuses. Like someone who had decided to stop hiding, I answered every question honestly. Outside the window the rain continued falling, and inside the cafe was filled with our voices. As evening fell, Emily spoke quietly. Actually, what I wanted more than money was to hear this. Who was wrong, who should be sorry? Now that I know, let's settle this properly. Not as blackmail, but as an inheritance agreement. I nod. Yes, let's do that. Legally, properly. Rachel wipes her tears and asks. So what will we do from now on? Mom, Dad, Emily. The four of us. I take Rachel's hand. Let's at least try living without lies from now on. That's all Mom can do. Emily nods, and Mark wipes the corner of his eyes with his fist. That day, we finally stood at the starting line to become a real family. After leaving the cafe, I sit alone with Rachel in the car. Only the sound of rain drumming on the car roof fills the space. Rachel stares out the window, and I hold the steering wheel unable to speak. After a long silence, Rachel asks, Mom, have you lived like this your whole life? Lying? My heart feels like it's tearing. I answer slowly. Rather than lying, it's more accurate to say I've lived hiding. But I know that's ultimately no different from lying. Rachel turns to look at me. Then what about all the things you told me? That our family was normal and happy, that you and Dad love each other. Was that all lies too? I shake my head. That was sincere. After you were born and while raising you, I was truly happy. It's just that I tried not to acknowledge that. Happiness was built on someone else's unhappiness. Rachel cries and says, "But why tell me only now? Why? Only after Emily showed up and threatened you?" I have no answer. The car falls silent again. Only the rain keeps falling. After a while, Rachel asks quietly, "What kind of person is Emily? Does she hate Dad?" I answer slowly, "More than hate, I think she wants recognition. That she's Dad's daughter too, that she's not someone forgotten." Rachel nods and mutters, "Just like me." That night when we get home, Rachel goes into her room and closes the door. I sit on the living room couch staring blankly at the ceiling. Mark makes water drinking sounds in the kitchen, then comes and sits next to me. "Helen, I'm sorry," he says, but I don't respond. Sorry isn't enough. A few days later, I call Emily. Let's meet again, this time at the lawyer's office. Emily pauses for a moment, then agrees. And adds one more thing. "I'll bring Rachel too. I think we both need to go together." I ask in surprise, "You've been in touch with Rachel?" Emily answers, "Yes, she texted yesterday. Asked if she could call me her older sister." After hanging up, I sit in a daze for a long time. Rachel reached out to Emily first. My feelings are complicated. Relief and guilt wash over me simultaneously. That evening, Rachel comes out of her room to the living room. "Mom, I'm going to the lawyer's office with Emily. I think we both need to hear this together." I look at Rachel and ask, "Have you forgiven Mom?" Rachel shakes her head. "I'm not sure yet, but I can't just keep being angry." And when I heard Emily's story, she had a hard time too. Maybe we're both victims. I try to take Rachel's hand, but she pulls away and goes back to her room. The next week, the four of us meet again at Carter Law in downtown Tacoma. Through the conference room window, traffic lights on Main Street are blinking. Attorney Carter spreads out the old divorce papers. And the current house deed in Mark's name on the desk. "Legally, here's how it works," he begins explaining. "There's already a portion that went to Susan. But regarding the remaining house and accounts, both daughters have inheritance rights." Mark clenches his fists and lowers his head. "I've spent my whole life running away. I never properly took care of anyone's share." I look straight at Mark. "Take responsibility now. Don't run. Leave something in your name." Mark nods. Attorney Carter takes out a draft inheritance gift agreement to show us. The agreement states that if the house is sold later, the sale proceeds will be split 50-50 between Emily and Rachel. While I retain lifetime residence rights for a certain period, Rachel reads the document and asks, "What about you, Mom?" I smile. "The deli is enough for Mom. Taking care of both your shares comes first." Emily holds the pen, hesitates for a moment, then looks at Mark. "Can I call you Dad now?" Mark's eyes well up. "Of course, Emily. You've been my daughter from the start." Emily lowers her head and wipes her tears. Rachel quietly pats Emily's shoulder. As I sign, I feel my hand trembling. But this time it's not from fear. It's from the relief of finally doing the right thing, even if late. Attorney Carter says, "This is now a record, not just emotion. No matter what anyone says, this document will protect you." I nod and murmur, "Susan, will you be a little more at peace now?" Leaving the law office, Rachel tells Emily, "Sister, if Dad needs to go to the hospital. From now on, let's take turns." Emily looks at Rachel with surprise. "Really?" Rachel smiles. "We're both nurses, so we can handle it." I hold back tears watching my two daughters. It feels like I've been waiting 30 years for this moment. In the elevator, I see my face reflected in the mirror. It's a wrinkled face, but for the first time, I'm wearing a peaceful expression. I tell myself, now finally, I'm standing in my own name instead of hiding. The elevator door opens and we walk outside. Tacoma's sky is clear and a cold winter wind blows. But I no longer feel cold. A few weeks pass after the legal procedures are finished. One Saturday afternoon, Emily visits our Tacoma home for the first time. When I open the door to the doorbell, Emily is standing there holding a small bouquet. "May I come in?" I nod and open the door wide. Rachel comes out of the kitchen with a warm greeting. "Sister, you're here?" Sitting in the living room drinking coffee. We have a comfortable conversation for the first time. Emily's stories about working at a Seattle bank. Rachel's episodes from the hospital. Mark sits quietly on one side of the couch, listening. I'm in the kitchen preparing sandwiches, hearing the three of them talk. It feels like an ordinary family's weekend. Emily looks around the house and asks, "Have you lived here long?" I nod. "Since before Rachel was born. It's been 27 years. Emily looks at Rachel's childhood photos on the wall. "I lived with Mom in a Seattle apartment, but we didn't take many pictures. Mom didn't like cameras." Rachel says quietly, "I wish I had pictures of you as a child, sister." That evening, I decide to change the deli sign. From Mark's Deli to Helen's Kitchen. Rachel asks, "Why suddenly change the sign?" I smile. "Because I want to live in my own name now. Instead of hiding." Emily nods. "That sounds like a good choice." On Monday, the sign replacement company comes. The old Mark's Deli sign comes down. And a bright white Helen's Kitchen sign goes up. People walking along Tacoma's Main Street stop to look at the new sign. A regular customer comes into the deli and asks, "The store name changed? Something good happen, Helen?" I smile. "I've decided to live in my own name now. Instead of hiding." On the day the sign replacement is done, Rachel and Emily come to the deli together. The two put on aprons and help in the kitchen, bickering. "Sister, if you cut onions like this, you won't cry." "Oh really? I always cut them crying." I stir the soup watching my two daughters. It feels like an ordinary family's daily life. In the evening when customers thin out, the three of us sit at the counter drinking coffee. Emily speaks quietly. "Actually, Mom's diary had something like this. If the two daughters ever sit at the same table, that day would be when we truly ended." Rachel asks, "What does that mean?" Emily answers, "I think it meant the day we let go of resentment." I put down my coffee cup and look at my two daughters. "Your mother was an amazing person. She thought only of you until the end." Emily nods. "Mom didn't forgive Dad, but I think she wanted us to forgive." Rachel says quietly, "Then should we do that?" The next Sunday, the four of us head to the cemetery on a hill near Seattle. The car is quiet, but it's no longer an uncomfortable silence. Mark drives, and I sit in the passenger seat. Rachel and Emily sit side by side in the back seat looking out the window. I tap the window with my finger thinking, "Susan, we're on our way now." When we arrive at the cemetery entrance, the sky is clear. Winter sunlight filters through the trees. Emily leads the way, and we follow her up the hill. In front of the small columbarium wall is a plaque with Susan Moore's name engraved on it. Emily places down white chrysanthemums she brought. I take one step forward and kneel. "Susan, or rather, Mrs. Susan Moore." My voice trembles. "I never properly apologized to you for 28 years. Rachel and Emily watch from both sides. Mark is behind us with his head bowed. "The two daughters you asked for," I continue. "It's late, but I'm going to try to protect them now. Just as you hoped, the two children have come to know each other. Now as family, not resentment." Tears stream down my face. Rachel places her hand on my shoulder, and Emily kneels beside me too. We stand there for a long time. Cold winter wind blows, but our hearts feel warm. Emily says quietly, "Mom, rest in peace now. I'm okay now." Rachel nods and adds, "We'll be fine together." I hold both daughters' hands. We stand there like that for a long while. On the drive back to Tacoma from the cemetery, the car is peaceful. Rachel says, "Sister, want to have dinner at my place next week? I'll make pasta for you." Emily smiles. "Sounds good. Then I'll bring dessert." I look at my two daughters in the rearview mirror. Sitting side by side and smiling, it feels like a dream. The next morning, I open the deli door and look up at the new sign. Helen's Kitchen, white letters gleaming in the morning sun. I take a deep breath and walk inside. The smell of brewing coffee and sizzling bacon fills the kitchen. The first customer comes in. "Nice new sign, Helen." I nod and start making sandwiches. At lunchtime, Rachel sends a photo from the hospital break room. It's a selfie with Emily. Both are wearing scrubs and smiling. A text message comes. "Mom, Emily came to our hospital for a health checkup today. We had lunch together." I smile looking at the photo. After staring at the screen for a while, I reply, "Good to see you both doing well." That evening, Mark comes to the deli. He sits at the counter and says quietly, "Helen, I'm going to stop driving. I'm getting old, and Rachel told me not to worry about medical bills." I pause from washing dishes and look at him. "Go ahead, rest now." Mark nods and drinks his coffee. Outside the window, Tacoma's Main Street evening scene unfolds. A few weeks later, Emily finishes packing up her Seattle apartment and moves near Tacoma. On moving day, Rachel and I help carry boxes. While carrying boxes, we see an old photo album. Emily opens it and shows us. These are photos of Mom and me. Not many, but precious. Rachel looks at the photos and says quietly, "Your mom was really beautiful, sister." In the new apartment, the three of us have dinner. We order pizza and watch TV. It feels like an ordinary family's Sunday. Emily asks, "Helen, are you really at peace now?" I nod. It'll take more time to be completely at peace. But at least now I don't have to hide, so breathing feels easier. That night I lie in bed at home. I look at the ceiling and recall Susan's letter. If the two daughters ever sit at the same table, that day would be when we truly ended. I whisper quietly, "Susan, I think today is that day. We're done now." A few days later, while I'm cleaning alone at the deli, the door opens. Rachel and Emily come in together. They say they came to help Mom, put on aprons, and head to the kitchen. Looking at my two daughters' backs, I feel like crying. But I hold it in. Happy tears can be shed alone. In the evening, after closing the deli, the three of us sit side by side drinking coffee. Emily says, "Helen, thank you for telling us the truth." Rachel adds, "Mom, me too. I was angry at first, but now I'm glad to know." I hold both daughters' hands. "I'm fortunate to have you both." That night, I write in a diary for the first time in a long while. The first time in 30 years. Today, I began living in my own name. Not hiding, not lying, standing proudly as a mother before her two daughters. Just as Susan hoped, the two children have now accepted each other as family. It's late, but it's not too late. Under the Helen's Kitchen sign on Tacoma's Main Street, I start a new life. The past can't be erased, but I've learned that the future can be rewritten. Rachel and Emily are now living as sisters. And Mark is belatedly trying to be a father to both daughters. One spring day, sitting by the deli window drinking coffee, I look outside. Tacoma's spring is warm. I see Rachel and Emily walking hand in hand. They're talking and laughing. I open the door for them. "Come in, my daughters." That day, Susan's last sentence comes to mind. If the two daughters ever sit at the same table, that day would be when we truly ended. I quietly mutter, "Susan, that day finally came today. We're truly done now. And we've started anew." Three people sit side by side at the deli counter eating sandwiches. Rachel cracks a joke and Emily laughs. I look at my two daughters in turn and think, I've waited 30 years for this moment. Outside the window, Tacoma's spring breeze blows. And the Helen's Kitchen sign sparkles in the sunlight. A regular customer comes in and asks, "Helen, you seem brighter lately. Something good happen?" I smile. "Yes, I'm living in my own name now." The customer nods and orders. I go into the kitchen and start making sandwiches. The sound of bacon sizzling, coffee brewing, two daughters laughing fills the deli. In the evening, the sky turns red. Turning off the deli lights and locking the door, I look up one last time at the sign. Helen's Kitchen. Under the sign bearing my name, I feel free for the first time. Rachel and Emily stand on either side of me. The three of us look up together at Tacoma's evening sky. Walking home, Rachel asks, "Mom, are you happy?" I nod. Not completely happy, but at least now I'm living honestly. Isn't that the beginning of happiness? Emily links her arm in mine. I think so too. The three of us walk down Tacoma's evening street like that. That night on the last page of my diary, I write, "Today, I became someone who doesn't hide. I became a mother who stands proudly before her two daughters." Just as Susan left behind, the day came when two children sit at the same table. And I realized, forgiveness doesn't come in one moment, but accumulates little by little every day. It's late, but it's not too late. This is the beginning. Everyone, have you ever felt your heart weighed down by a past you were trying to hide, like I did? Today, I learned how frightening it is to bring the truth out into the open, and at the same time, how deeply it can comfort us and set us free. Even if it's late, I hope my decision to finally be honest can become a small bit of courage and hope for someone out there. If you have similar experiences or stories in your heart, I would be grateful if you could quietly share them in the comments. If my story stayed with you in any way, I kindly ask you to walk with me by subscribing and liking this channel. And if someone comes to mind, please gently share this video with them today. Thank you sincerely for listening until the end. And I hope your health and peace stay with you for a very long time.